You work at a university campus,
Yes.
the name of which is?
The University of Minnesota Duluth.
How long have you been there?
It's my 21st year.
All right, so here's the question I wanted to ask you. How are Gen Z kids different? And this is how I know I'm old. Speaking of old age, I look at university kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't do that, but that's what I call them. How are Gen Z kids different from millennial kids?
Well, it's interesting. 21 years ago when I got this assignment to both be the director of youth ministry in the diocese and then chaplain at the university, for some reason, I don't know if someone told me or I just was moved to, I never call them kids, not even the middle schoolers. I might say the students, the campers, the retreatants, we put on retreats and whatever, or the youth. But I'll never say kids. I don't know. It seems,
Well, it's patronizing.
it seems like
Yeah.
it, but I know what you're saying, because, it makes sense for someone not in my role.
Right.
To say. So, what are they like? They are very much, I don't know.
Have you noticed different struggles, or is it all the same, just comes out differently?
It is, everyone's an individual still. And that's the piece that always, that's been the constant, is that every person is, you might see some patterns of thought, or you might see some kind of behaviors that I would say, that's different, or that's new. But one of the things I just have always been struck by is, because everyone, that's a kind of a question I've been asked many times, and it could be my inability to diagnose, because I've seen big things. For example, I remember being on campus when anxiety became the #1 mental health issue over depression, and I remember seeing that as a real thing in students' lives.
What do you think caused that?
I wonder if it isn't the fact that they are not presented with what is permanent and actually permanent. I think there's a vast degree of impermanence in things that what people put their hope in. Like, we put our hope in things will get better, put our hope in other people, we put our hope in structures, so government or academia, whatever the thing is, and they all fail. And the failures of those things are on display. And so I think that that's a big piece of it. There's obviously more as well. What have you seen?
Well, I mean, I know this is the easy culprit, but first of all, what is anxiety? Is it when you feel a constant low-level dread? I don't know what it is.
So that's a good, I came across a fantastic definition from a woman who she works at it like an anxiety, if you're to go away for 6 weeks because you have chronic, clinical anxiety. And she said something along the lines of, when you're something, okay, I'm gonna butcher this, but the anticipation of pain is greater than your perceived ability to handle that pain.
Okay.
So uncertainty and feeling like I am not capable of handling.
Threat that I won't be able to overcome.
I'm not capable of handling what's coming in the future.
So, I mean, as I say, I think it's an easy culprit, but it would be very difficult not to point to the internet and the internet in our pockets as one of the main reasons we feel constantly anxious. I would think just being in a continual state of, should I be responding to somebody? Oh, I just received something. Should I send this? Put this out into the world. Now, what are people saying about that? What do they think about me? I mean, that has got to cause anxiety.
You would think. I mean, plus kind of always being monitored, like you mentioned, kind of like, what does someone think now? I remember. Oh, so Jordan Peterson has mentioned that. So levels, the kind of the mid-range or the bell curve of aggressive behavior is men and women are more or less on the bell curve same, but at the extremes, men are vastly more aggressive. But he had said that the way that women are aggressive or manifest that is through gossip, innuendo, and reputation destruction. Guys might, bully each other physically or verbally, whatever, but it's different. Yeah. So the three, gossip, innuendo, reputation destruction. And you think, one of the things that's happening is anxiety is higher in females than in males, coupled with the internet, where you could go home after school and no one has the ability to harm you anymore. Like, gossip doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I
remember that in the 90s. You know, I might have someone bully me at school, or I'd get into a tiff with somebody, then I'd go home, and for better or worse, I was home.
Yeah.
There was no way
the weekend,
to
you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You see him on Monday maybe.
Yeah.
But there's a safety there, and that gossip, innuendo, reputation destruction is limited to this place, as opposed to now it's always. So that anyone at any moment could just decide that you're on the outside. And there's something about that fear of being on the outside that we all have.
Yeah. Hallow is the #1 Catholic prayer and meditation app to deepen your spiritual life anytime, anywhere. Go to hallow.com/MattFrad to get the first 3 months for free.
I can imagine that it'd be a very, very big thing. But you know what you see now too is, well, maybe Gen Z, Gen Alpha is...
What's Gen Alpha?
Yeah,
what year is that? How old?
Here's the interesting thing. I remember I used to do like some generational things, and I would say, okay, so you have Boomer 1, Boomer 2, because those are two different eras.
All right.
Boomer 1 would be, they're still really dedicated to 20 years. So it would typically be a generation, would be 20 years. At least some of the people that I read 20 years ago. And so the first 10 years, Boomer 1, very locked in. Like, yep, we are patriotic. We are part of the system where we trust in systems. Boomer 2 was where the hippies came from. And so it's same generation, but two waves in that one generation.
Interesting.
My dad even described how his last year of college, he said, was the first year. He said, yeah, in college, everyone had a crew cut, a white t-shirt and jeans. That's how that was what we wore to school all the time or whatever. And he said, my senior year was when the first, long-haired student showed up, freshman. And I was like, wow, you're Boomer 1. He's clearly Boomer 1. And after that would be, Gen X, right, I think?
I don't know.
And then...
I guess Millennial after that, is it?
And then Millennial.
Okay.
Then Gen Z. Then...
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha. It seems to me, and I could be wrong on this, I should do more reading about it, either people are just coming up with shorter time frames because we need a new thing, or maybe things are moving so quickly.
That's what it is.
That there is.
That's what people tell me it is. That's what younger people tell me it is. They say it's because of the advancement of technology,
right,
that the Gen Z's life, they grew up inside of the internet, is totally different to me. Nate Bargatze has that funny joke where he says, I have more in common with a pilgrim than my daughter.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I'm hearing that there's a lot of people turning towards Christianity and Catholicism. It was like the new atheism had its day. Mm-hmm. We're kind of tired with modernity and being rootless and just floating through the void. We would like some meaning.
Yeah.
Peterson filled that gap for a while, or perhaps he's something of a gateway drug. Yeah. So on university campuses, are you seeing that? Are you seeing young men more interested in Catholicism than you did 15 years ago?
Absolutely. I remember the first, yes. I mean, that's been a growing trend. One of the things, this was pointed out to me by a priest in Chicago, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely right. He had pointed out that one of the moves was for many years, early 2000s, well, even 90s, sorry, hit the mic, even late 90s, early 2000s, new atheists, does God exist? There's been a rise, a decrease in that question, in the sense of it seems reasonable to believe that God exists. At least there are smart people around, even now, who believe God exists. The question is God good? Is the deeper question in the modern young adult's heart. And I would say all the way down to middle school is asking that question. And on the good hand, a good side of it, it's not a new question. It's the same question the serpent asks of Adam and Eve in the garden, that sense of like, can you really trust him? Is he your dad, or is he a dictator? That's the question. So it's not a new question per se, but at the same time, it's fascinating because C.S. Lewis even wrote about this in God at the Dock, where he said, for millennia, almost 1900 years, the image was here we're in a courtroom, and we're on trial because we're guilty. And what's God's answer for our guilt? God's answer for our guilt is the cross. And Lewis pointed out, I mean, this is maybe in the 30s or 40s, and he says that you still have a courtroom, but this time God is on trial because he's guilty of putting us in a world with suffering and death and evil. And what's God's answer to our lack of trust is the cross. And so it's the same, God's answer is the same, because even if the question changes. And so it's both an ancient question, also, again, it goes all the way back to the garden, but it's also a relatively new thing. I've just seen that one more and more. I don't know where it comes from. I think there's an aspect of people being dissatisfied with the world.
So are you seeing men just kind of come to your office? Are you seeing them show up at church events or Holy Mass on campus? How are you seeing them come? Yeah,
their friends often bring them. Or someone reaches out. We're on campus and someone says, "Hey, do you meet with people?" Like, yes, yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, just for example, on this last Tuesday, we had an event that was advertised as called Open Door, and the idea was come with questions, leave with more than answers. That's the tagline that we came up with. And the first night was on truth and God's existence. And it was packed. Like the whole ballroom was full of everyone from freshmen to grad students.
Wow. This is an optional event.
Yeah, completely optional. The fourth week or fifth week of class, and on a Tuesday night, and because there's that big question, right? And so, and a lot of people, they stayed as long as they could afterwards, just wanting to keep talking about this and keep asking questions. And it was great. Next week, we'll talk about who is Jesus and just kind of take some of those steps. But the fact that it's not a hard sell to invite people to consider these questions, they're already thinking about them. Again, I think this show is a great example that there are so many people, and not just people in general, but specifically a lot of men who watch this, listen to this, because it's like, wait, let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about truth. Let's talk about purpose. Let's talk about meaning. Let's talk about what is it to live a life of virtue? And I think people, I don't know, I think there's something, the way you do it too, and the people you have on, that can articulate this in a powerful way that is compelling and doesn't seem either sappy or stupid.
Thank you very much for watching that Pints with Aquinas clip. If you like it, do me a favor, click like and subscribe, and please offer a Hail Mary for the work of Pints with Aquinas and all the people we're trying to reach. God bless you.